I'm not going to sit here and just blame everything on the other person because that's not true. And there's accountability on both sides. And so let me look at how can I be better, but how can I not beat myself up? What is it that you think you learned, or what about you do you think has become better or healed, or what have you worked on because of that shift in your life?
Just a balance, understanding balance. I'm such a career-driven, work-driven person that could just take over my life, and that becomes what's, the most important to me outside of my son. There's never been anything that's more important than Cayenne. And you know this, you just get caught up in the work, and next thing you know, friends or partners or whatever are feeling neglected, or like, I just feel like you never have time, or you're not making them feel special in their, moments and being there for them, because it's like, you got to film one more podcast. I got to go to set. I got to film one more episode. I got to go do this really fast, but it'll be quick and I'll come right back, And then you realize when people, friends as well, are feeling like neglected in those departments, problems can happen because of that. You start looking for other ways to fulfill that void and that need, and that's how things happen. So again, it's not blaming myself, but just being aware of things that happen and finding that balance and getting better at that balance. And I need the balance, Jay, for myself. It's not even for a partner, for myself, because I should be okay with having a personal life and a professional life and not feel guilty. I was the person that if I went on a vacation, I felt guilty. Like, I gotta work. I can't be doing this. Like, I don't want people to think I'm just having a good time. I should be on set. I should be doing, and like really beating myself up. Meanwhile, I work my ass off. I should be able to take a vacation. If I want to take a month off, I should be able to do that. I've been in this industry since I was 16 years old. I should be able to do that. I have enough equity in the game with all I've given it to be able to do that, but I still would feel so guilty over that. So that's the balance that I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad that you went that step further of like, it's giving yourself to your friends, a potential partner, but also to yourself.
Yeah.
What do you think it was for you that blocked you from giving yourself that permission? And the reason I asked that is because I was looking at the studies in the US and it was saying how so many people don't take all of their leave from work. Like most people are not taking their leave. And there's not even that much leave in the US to take. So when I was in the UK, you get like 30 days off a year.
Wow.
And like, I think
That's
here,
awesome.
and here it's not that many. And so when I moved here and I remember looking at that and I was thinking, wow, and still people aren't taking time off. I think that's something people can relate to, that a lot of people struggle to think, well, maybe when I come back, I'll have so many more emails. Oh my God, I'm gonna be so behind. Oh my gosh, I won't get promoted this year. Oh my gosh, I might get let go. I'm competing with this person. I may become irrelevant.
Right.
I have to stay on top of stuff.
Right.
What was it for you that kind of, do you think, stopped you from giving yourself permission to have a balance?
Definitely a fear. And you and I always talk about fear. A fear of someone's gonna come and take my job, or someone's gonna come and take my place. Or I used to take so much pride in being like, even if I'm not the most talented, I'm the hardest worker. No one can outwork me. And that was like my badge of honor. Like, I will outwork everyone until you're burnt out and you don't have anything else to give. And then what? They move on to the next person anyway. So it's like, you have to take care of yourself. And I had to learn that, because I would just go until I couldn't go anymore and then not have anything to give to anyone because I didn't have that balance. But that was all because of fear, and not also believing in myself enough to say, I'm enough. And if someone is able to just come and take this from me, it was never mine to begin with. And really being okay with that. But I just think I grew up in a world where it's so competitive, and it's like, you can't take your foot off the gas. As soon as you do it, somebody else is coming, or don't even give, somebody else a chance to take your spot, whatever that even means. But that's the culture I grew up in and what I was conditioned and brainwashed to always believe. So it was like, go till you can't go anymore. And now I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. Have I reached a place where I found the perfect balance? No, but I am getting better at it. I just told you I took a trip. I was at a couple different places. Prior to that, I took Cayenne to the Cayman Islands, and we had a great time. And I felt happy. I felt not guilty for doing that. And I felt okay with posting about it, not thinking like, oh, they're gonna think this girl, she's always on vacation or something like that. I felt good about that because I deserve it and I need to do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love hearing the practical ways in which it's actually taking part. It's really interesting. It's so much about like what we get our significance from, like what makes us feel worthy. And for some of us, it's overworking. For some of us, it's overgiving. For some of us, it's oversharing. And it's like, what makes you feel worthy? Today, what makes you feel worthy and happy today?
Definitely my son. Like, he makes me so happy because you start really seeing the influence you have over your child at a certain age where it's like, wow, everything I've taught him or things I've tried to drill in his head, now I'm seeing it actually come to fruition, or he's repeating things to me that I'm like, oh, he was listening to me when I said that, or he is following my guidance or advice. You know, he's 16 years old now, and he's making a career and a lane for himself in basketball, and, you know, he's doing so well. But I just see how humble he is, how kind he is, how he's all about, you know, giving back to the community and all the things that are so important to me. Now I'm just seeing him take on all of that same stuff, and that makes me so happy because I feel like, you know, I did a great job, and it's not like I'm done being a parent, but I did a great job thus far of being a parent and never allowing whatever was happening in my life or to affect my parenting or affect how I was with, you know, my child. That's something that makes me happy and something I'm really proud of, because that's not easy, you know, to deal with day-to-day life and ups and downs and then come home and be, you know, there for your child and be willing to just listen to their needs and what they have going on. That's not easy.
What's been the biggest thing you think he's taught you?
Definitely patience. Everyone says, like, you don't experience love till you have a child. And you're like, well, what does that really mean? Like, I know what it's like to love someone, but it definitely is a different kind of love. So just unconditional love, patience. And, you know, I always say that my son is my best friend. Now, it's interesting because people will say that, and I don't know if you've read about this, Jay, I'm curious to know your take. People will say that your children should not be your best friend, that you should be a parent and your child should not be your best friend. I'm on the other side of it. My son is my best friend, and I'm still able to be a parent and have him as my best friend. And best friend, I mean, I spend more time with my son than anyone else. I live with my child, so he's the person I live with. He's my roommate, essentially, and knows me in every shape and form, the happy days, the sad days, everything. And there's nothing I don't feel like we can talk about on his side, on my side. To me, those are all the qualities of a best friend. Do I still parent him and discipline him? And of course I do. But there's a lot of I read a lot of talk about that. And sometimes when I write, like, hanging with my best friends, like, oh, your son shouldn't be your best friend. Like, you should just be a parent. That's the problem these days. Parents trying to be their kids' friends and this and that. I come from a different.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a parent, so I can't answer it from that perspective. But if I think about it with my parents, I would say at this point, I'm good friends with my parents. I would say I wish we were best friends growing up.
Okay.
And I felt that I was parented, which made me actually not tell them stuff and keep secrets and do my own thing and not really have that open relationship with them, which I think would have been healthier for me and for them. And now I'm glad that it's evolved to where it has, but I agree. I would have liked to have
that.
been friendlier with my parents when I was younger, because I think I could have avoided a lot of the mistakes I made had I had that relationship with them.
And felt comfortable talking to them about certain
I was
things.
always scared to tell them anything.
Like,
because
I'm about to get in trouble.
Exactly. So I don't think that was a healthy feeling as a child of, oh, I'm going to get into trouble if I do. Not as a child, as a teenager.
Right.
When I was a child, I was obedient anyway. But when I was a teenager, it's like, I think that's the age. Like, if you can be friends with your 16-year-old, that's pretty dope. Because
and being friends, Jay, doesn't mean he doesn't get in trouble. Because if he does something wrong, he gets in trouble, or, you know, I have to sit down and talk to him. But I think it's the approach and the way, because sometimes just yelling or it's not effective, at least from what I've seen with other people parenting, you know, and I don't judge anyone's parenting, but yelling, screaming, like, they're not hearing you. So sometimes just having an honest conversation on why you shouldn't have done that or why that was wrong, for me, that gets me further than like, what the hell are you thinking? Why did it? Like, they're blocking you out. They're not hearing you anyway.
I actually went through something like that the other day. So I bumped into someone and I was talking to their teenager. He was probably like, maybe like 14, 15.
Okay.
And his mom was like behind me, like telling him what to ask me. And it was almost like she was making it out like he wouldn't ask good questions.
Right, like not giving him the opportunity.
Yeah, and the thing is, he was actually asking really smart questions, and I was like really engaged, but I could see that she kept distracting him, and he kept being like, "Mom, just I'm talking."
I got it, right.
And it was just really interesting. And I'd look back and I'd smile and I'd be like, he's cool, like, you know, it's all right. And it was just really interesting to me, like, she didn't trust that she'd actually been an amazing parent.
Right, and taught him well and put him in a situation where he can handle himself.
Yeah, and he was doing great. And I said to her afterwards, I was like, I just want you to know, like, you must have raised your son really well, because he was so present. He asked me, I was so impressed by a 15-year-old asking those kind of questions. Like, I wanted her to know that too, because I guess mom guilt and reflecting and like kind of feeling like it's never good enough must be a big part of what you carry too.
Yeah, for sure. That's a real thing, you know, mom guilt and just everything you just said is just so real, because again, we get in the habit of beating ourselves up for everything. So it's like blaming ourselves for everything. So, you know, my son's like this because of whatever. So it is nice when, I always say the biggest compliment I've ever heard is when people tell me, your son's so well-mannered. He's so humble. He's so down to earth. He cares about people. Like, that makes me feel better than anything, any award, any, you know, high-rated TV show, movie, anything. Like, someone to tell me that my kid is kind and humble and well-mannered, that's like the best thing I could ever hear.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love hearing that. And I want to talk about your career, because last time you came, we kind of did a full like biography of like all the jobs and like how you started. We talked about your first job and how you broke through. What about, you're a driven, ambitious person still, despite everything you've achieved. What is that drive pursuing today? Like, what does that look like right now?
I'm always trying to figure out what my next thing is. I'm always working extremely hard. I think I still am close enough to remember what not having felt like to continue to push myself the way I do. I'm not that far removed from remembering what that felt like, and it lives in me and it's close to me. So I'm like, I don't like that. I don't want to go back there. So that's the motivation and the drive to continue to push forward. And I enjoy it. Like, I like working. I mean, my mom tells me all the time, like, you don't think you should just like take a break? And I'm like, Mom, I like working. Some people like other things. I like working. Some people, you know, rather be at home and do certain things, which is fine. Everyone has a different motivation. I like working. That brings me happiness. That brings me joy. So I push myself in that department. But for me, I'm always trying to see what's next. Right now, you know, I'm heavy in the acting space, producing space, really big on my prison reform charity, which takes up a lot of my time. And, you know, giving back in that way is so important to me. So those are kind of where my immediate focuses are right now, but there's always so many things, you know, happening.
With the acting and production, like, what part of it right now do you feel most immersed and in love with? Because you've done both for a while now. It's like, what's the project that's kind of like bringing you alive right now?
So, you know, just finding projects that I'm interested in. Producing is so amazing because you can now bring something that you love to life, and you can be in control of that IP or whatever it is and bring it to life. So producing just puts you in control. For so long as an actor, you're waiting for someone else to give you an opportunity. You're auditioning with 10 other girls that look very similar to you and just hoping that, hey, pick me, I'm the right person for the role. And 9 times out of 10, you don't get picked. I mean, you get those lucky times, but for the most part, you don't always get picked. So by producing, you're not waiting. Now you're creating, and you're also putting yourself in a position to create jobs and opportunities for other people. And that's what I'm about, opening the doors for other people to come in and, you know, have these experiences and be able to give them, you know, a piece of what I have going on. So that's what I love about producing, and just going out there and finding projects that mean something to me. And it's not always about like, oh, I want to produce this because I want it to be this huge success. Of course you want things you do to be a huge success, but sometimes you want to do it for you. Like this, I'm passionate about this. Yeah. I want to tell this story, and whoever gets it, gets it. Maybe this is not the $1 billion hit or whatever. Maybe this is just for a small group of people that are into this, but that matters to me. So that's what gets me excited from the producing standpoint. And acting, I am on a show, so it's great to just have steady work. And I love, you know, the people I work with. I love the show I'm a part of. It's incredible, and it's nice to just always have that kind of